So last night on Dynamite, Bryan Danielson apparently turned heel. Now, for a lot of us that have followed Danielson, career throughout all of this industry, throughout this entire wrestling business, we know for Danielson, Bryan Danielson, Daniel Bryan, it's nothing new. We've seen him do this prior to his days in WWE when he was in Ring of Honor. We've seen him do this, in WWE, multiple times, and now we're seeing it for the first time here in AEW. But what's interesting about this heel turn is, Daniel Bryan knows what he's doing. Or Bryan Danielson, I should say, knows what he's doing. He knows, he's one of those rare exceptions in the business to where, even though they're a babyface, they know how to flip the switch, over to heel instantly and not change a thing about them just by saying certain things, saying certain acronyms or saying certain words and stuff like that, or even names. They know how to basically, flip that switch and not really change a thing. And all they have to do is just use, what's coming out of their mouth, or acknowledge, or do some, use some acknowledgments or acknowledges, or whatever the case may be. And for Bryan Danielson, he is one, like I said, he's one of those rare exceptions to where, it's like getting back on a bike and riding once more without a problem. It just becomes so fluidly to him. He knows what buttons to push, and he knows when to do it, where to do it, and who against. And when it comes to Hangman Adam Page, Danielson's no dummy. He realizes that, hey, here's a guy that's over as, shit, excuse my language, guy, but over as shit with the fans. He gets an instant reaction even when his music hits and when people see his Jumbotron's video. So Danielson realizes that as much support as he gets, Hangman Adam Page right now his support's gonna outshine that. And I think what Danielson sees is he sees basically a version of himself in Adam Page, with the support he's getting from the fans. So what better way to kind of continue, help continuously give him that support, if you will, than to basically play the heel to Page's babyface. It makes a lot of sense when you really think about it. And like I said, he knows what analogies, what words, what acronyms and all that he can use to really, very fluidly, without changing anything about himself. He knows what to say and do and, what verbiage basically to use to get himself over as a heel, as the bad guy. I mean, the fact that he mentions WrestleMania, that he wrestled at WrestleMania, won at WrestleMania, and then wrestled the next night, just saying WrestleMania, got him booed literally out of the building. And why? You would think, well, WrestleMania, anybody that's in this business, whether it's AEW, more specifically WWE, or Impact, New Japan, MLW, you name it, PWG, AAA, anybody in this business, no matter where they work at, realizes what WrestleMania is, how big it is, how important it is, not just to the WWE, but more importantly to the wrestling business itself. Like everybody, credits the fact that if there wasn't a WrestleMania, there probably wouldn't be a wrestling business that to speak of, today. And so for Bryan Danielson, I should say, to get booed just by mentioning WrestleMania, it shows you, how passionate the AEW and the hardcore non-WWE wrestling fan base is. The fact that if you even acknowledge anything about WWE, you're going to get booed. I mean, remember when Danielson came in, several months ago, and he acknowledged in a post show off the air promo that he did at All Out. What happened when he mentioned WWE? When he acknowledged them, in that off the air promo, he got booed. he got booed. He was still cheered afterwards, still looked at as a babyface afterwards, but he was booed. And why was he booed? Because he was talking, very fondly and nicely and kindly about WWE. And as far as the AEW hardcore non-WWE wrestling fans go, you say anything kind about WWE, you're going to get instant hate. You're going to get instant disdain. You're going to get instant boos, directed at you, even if you're not intended to be a heel. You say anything kind about them or positive about them, you're going to get, a lot of detractors coming your way. And, that's more importantly now, especially when Danielson uses it as part of his verbiage, as part of his change from babyface to heel or tweener heel, whatever you want to call him, when he acknowledges the fact that, hey, unlike you, Adam Page, I won at WrestleMania, and oh, by the way, after I won at WrestleMania, became champion, guess what I did? I wrestled the next night, injured. Injured or not, I wrestled the next night. So by even acknowledging the fact that he won at WrestleMania, which is true, and then he wrestled the next night, he's basically saying not only is he better than Adam Page, but in a sense, in the eyes of the AEW faithful, in the eyes of the hardcore non-WWE wrestling fan base, not just because it's Norfolk, Virginia, and it's Adam Page's hometown or home state, but, no matter where he goes, no matter where they go, what I'm trying to say is no matter where he goes or anything like that, he's essentially saying, not only am I better than you as a wrestler, but me winning at WrestleMania and then competing the next night, on Raw, he's essentially in the eyes, in the ears of the AEW faithful, in the eyes and ears of the hardcore non-WWE wrestling fans, he's essentially saying that WWE is better than AEW. He's not verbally saying it, in a way that where he name drops WWE alongside WrestleMania. No, he's not verbally saying it in that way, but he's acknowledging what he did, prior to what, years prior to what Adam Page has done to make himself not only look better as the better wrestler, in-ring competitor, but like I said, in the ear, from the ears of the AEW faithful and the hardcore non-WWE wrestling fans, he's essentially saying that the company he just worked for, he came from, is better than All Elite Wrestling. And just by that verbiage, like I said, and everybody has complimented this, he's a natural pro. He knows what he's doing. He knows how to flip the switch from babyface to heel. We've seen him do it in WWE. Like I said earlier, we've seen him do it in his years prior to WWE with places like Ring of Honor. So we know that we know, without a shadow of a doubt, that he can do, face to heel in an instant and not, and be one of those rare exceptions where he doesn't have to change much about what he says. All he has to do is change up the verbiage, still be himself, a more aggressive version, more tweener heelish version, but that's it. He doesn't have to change much. He doesn't have to change his outfit. He doesn't have to go out and insult, people that much or anything like that. He just knows what to do and how to do it. And, obviously that makes him, in my opinion, the perfect foil for Adam Page right now. It makes him the perfect foil. Because what he's coming off as is somebody that's like, look, I came here to wrestle. That was his first initial statement when he came to AEW. He came there to wrestle because, they've been touting themselves as the best wrestling company. He didn't come, to AEW to dress up as a Ghostbuster or as a cowboy or anything like that. He just came there, trunks, boots and all, to wrestle. And that's it. He didn't come to do anything else. And when you're a hardcore non-WWE wrestling fan, and you're also a very prevalent and supportive AEW fan, and you have somebody that's basically looked at as an outsider, as somebody that still has the stench, if you will, still has the stench, in the basically he still has the stench. He's still wearing the cologne known as WWE on him, and that person's coming out after they've earned, a shot at the world title, and they're coming out and they're basically, from your point of view, saying that they and the company they worked for is better than, than your new champion, one of your own OG homegrown stars, as well as at the same time essentially saying that company he worked for is better than yours, then yeah, that instantly makes him public enemy number one. And that makes him public enemy, number one. And for Danielson, like I said, he knows what he's doing. And it makes him the perfect foil for Adam Page, because alongside Kenny Omega, it's like, okay, we knew with Kenny Omega he was going to beat him eventually. We knew that Kenny was ducking him for a reason, because Kenny in storyline knew he can't beat, Bryan Danielson. I mean, not Bryan, but Adam Page. He knew that. He knew that legitimately one-on-one he couldn't beat him. But here's the thing. When you, what I'm trying to say is, hold on for a second. Let me get some coffee here for a second. Almost had a brain fart. We knew, he would beat him. We knew that. But yet, here you have Danielson now. Like I said, he's basically turning himself into the perfect foil, for Adam Page. And as I was trying to say before, I almost had that brain fart there. Again, it's still kind of early. It's about 10. Well, it's not so early, but still, it's early still for me. I'm still kind of waking up. But anyway, when you already knew that, the reason Omega was ducking Page a lot, because in storyline he knew he would lose to Page, which he did. That's not a. What I'm trying to say is that is not, that is basically not an issue to well, not an issue, but again, I do apologize. I'm trying to think about what I was going to say here. This is what happens when you do things uncut, unscripted, and on the fly, But what I'm saying is that we knew he was going to beat Page. I mean, not Page, but we knew Page was going to beat Omega. That's why Omega in story was always constantly ducking him, because he knew that was going to happen, and it did. But what I was trying to say, and I was trying to think about, what I was going to come up with here. I do apologize for all this. But when you look at someone like Danielson being able to masterfully, switch over to heel from babyface or tweener heel, whatever you want to call it, just by his verbiage and not really change much about him, you want to solidify Adam Page, as a legitimate world champion, and basically prove to the world that, he's not a temporary champion, that, he's just a transitional champion or anything. You want to prove that you're going to put your trust in him to be, the face of your company right now as your champion. Then going up against and getting a win over a Bryan Danielson, a.k.a. Daniel Bryan, that pretty much seals the deal. I mean, now that you're putting them in this scenario with Bryan Danielson, and you're having Danielson playing the heel and not really changing much about himself, that pretty much right there tells you that he knows, like I said earlier, that even though fans will cheer him, the support Adam Page has is much more stronger than the support he would have. So it's only natural that he'd be the heel. But by choosing to go in that directive, he also realizes by doing so, he's going to help put over the future of not only the company, but of this business by solidifying, Adam Page as a legit world champion in a major promotion and a legit main eventer by having him beat someone like himself, Bryan Danielson. So, to me, Danielson playing the role of the heel, being able to be a master, being one of those rare masters of being able to switch over to heel from face and not really change that much about him. Just the verbiage he uses is enough. To me, it just works. It's the perfect storm. It's the perfect storm that comes together. And when this match happens, and Adam Page beats Bryan Danielson, in the ring, it will solidify Adam Page as a legit main event player. And not only as a legit main event player, but as a legitimate world champion in a major promotion. And what it does is it opens the eyes of all these other promotions out there, even including WWE, believe it or not, that potentially could look at Adam Page, be curious as to when his contract's up, and be like, you know what? I want that guy. I want that guy into WWE. Because you can't tell me that WWE won't pursue Adam Page once his contract's up. And Danielson knows that. He knows that the company he came from will want to go after someone like Adam Page. So what better way to go after him than to basically put him over as a legit main event player in the business. So to me, Danielson playing the heel, not really changing much about himself and everything. Basically through his verbiage, putting over how better not only he is as a competitor in the ring, but basically how better the company he came from is than AEW. To me, it works. And the fact that from a storyline perspective, you're going to have him go after the Dark Order till he gets his match with Adam Page for the world title. Basically take them out so it's just him and Adam. I think works too, because in the end, what you will have is Adam Page one-on-one with Danielson, and Danielson saying, hey, I don't want no excuses, and he's not going to get any excuse, because when that match happens and he puts over Page, then yeah, you're going to probably have Danielson go back to a face, but probably acknowledge that the reason he acted the way he did is because he wanted to bring the best out of Adam Page, and that this is an Adam Page we need to see on a constant basis as a world champion. So we'll see what they do. We'll see what they do as we get closer to this title match that is between the two. I know Danielson's facing Colt Cabana, in Chicago this Wednesday, who I was very fortunate to meet at one time at a Central States Wrestling event. And obviously that's going to be a good match because they've met before. They have chemistry and everything. So we'll see. We'll see not only how good that match is going to be on Dynamite this Wednesday in Chicago, but we'll see how much further this storyline between Danielson and Page goes. Like how much more heelish Danielson can get when it comes to building up this program to put over Adam Page, because that's why Danielson's in this position. Because when you compare Miro against Page, it makes if you put Miro against Page, it doesn't really benefit either man, and in that program for the world title, because both men are still in their prime. Both men still have years ahead of them. And Miro, with all due respect, is not a big name like Bryan Danielson. It's not an established future Hall of Famer, current and future legend in this business. Like Danielson, he's not in that category. So Page going over Miro doesn't really do much for him. Yeah, it establishes him as a legit champion, but not on the level of being put over by the likes of a Bryan Danielson. By going in the ring with Danielson and and being put over by him, by beating him, that pretty much seals the deal of how much faith not only does AEW have in Adam Page, but it also puts over the fact that Adam Page is a legitimate player in this business overall. Period. So, again, it's going to be interesting what steps they take as we get closer to the inevitable matchup, which probably is going to be at either the Winter is Coming event next month, or it's going to be at Battle of the Belts in January. But we'll see what happens. But what are your thoughts on this whole scenario with Bryan Danielson being the heel against Adam Page? Do you think it's the perfect storm? Do you think they work good off each other in these roles? What are your thoughts? Do you think Danielson being in this role is the perfect candidate to help legitimize Adam Page as a main event world champion by allowing himself to put over Adam Page? What are your thoughts? Comment below, live chat during the premiere, like the video, check out the Teespring store, check me out at BW Rose's Discussions on all your favorite audio podcast locations except for Pandora. Also check me out at BW Roses on VENMO. Also check me out at Patreon/BWRosis, and also on Venmo if you want to help donate there. But let me know what your thoughts are overall. I do apologize for a little bit of the stuttering, or almost brain farting, if you will. Again, this is what happens when you do a video unscripted. You know, you just have to think about what you're going to say on the fly right then and there. But what are your thoughts? And I'm out.